I believe that everyone can succeed in science. We just need to explain it in the right way, a way that makes sense to you. This is Sarah. She's sitting her biology exam. She turns the page over and sees this question. She groans inwardly. She knows what DNA looks like, but how is she supposed to describe that in words? In this video, we'll look at DNA structure and I'll give you 4 key phrases that you should use in an exam question when describing DNA. So let's get started. If you're new here, welcome to BioSmash. I'm Jo, I'm a science teacher. I'll help you smash biology revision. Let's start by looking at a diagram of DNA. DNA is described as a double helix because it's a double-stranded molecule. Here is strand 1 and here is strand 2. So the first key phrase to use when describing DNA is double-stranded. Let's look at the DNA molecule more closely. If you zoom in, it looks something like this. You can see it's made of repeated building blocks and one of the building blocks has been circled. Here's a simplified version of it and you can see that it's got 3 parts. These building blocks are joined together to make one chain of DNA. I've circled each building block so you can see it more clearly. And because DNA is made of these building blocks or monomers, we say that DNA is a polymer. Each of these building blocks is called a nucleotide. So a second key phrase to use when describing DNA is that it's a polymer made of nucleotides. Give this video a thumbs up if you're starting to understand this topic better. Let's look at a nucleotide in more detail. It contains a chemical group called a phosphate group. Don't worry too much about what that means. Each nucleotide also contains a base, which we'll come back to later. And each nucleotide contains a sugar. In DNA, that sugar is called deoxyribose. You can tell this is a sugar because it ends in the sound O's. It's this sugar that gives DNA its name. DNA stands for deoxyribonucleic acid. Let's look again at the polymer that makes up the DNA strand. If you look carefully at the diagram, you'll see a chain of red phosphates and yellow sugars. For this reason, we say DNA has a sugar-phosphate backbone. So the third key phrase to try and squeeze in if you're describing DNA is sugar-phosphate backbone. I really hope you're finding this video helpful. If you are, then please do click subscribe. It will help you to find my other videos. Now let's look at the third part of the nucleotide molecule, the base. If we look at a single strand of DNA, you can see the base is sticking out from the sugar-phosphate backbone. As shown in this diagram, each base is given a letter, so DNA is actually a sequence of a 4-letter code. And those bases are C, G, A and T. Let's look at where these letters come from. If the base in the building block is cytosine, there will be a C in the DNA. If the base in the building block is a chemical called guanine, there will be a G in the DNA. If the base is adenine, you will see an A, and if the base is thymine, you will see a T. Because DNA is double-stranded, these bases actually pair up, and if you look closely, you'll see the pairings. You can see that A always pairs with T, and C always pairs with G. We call this complementary base pairing. So the final thing you need to remember about DNA is that it contains 4 bases, C, G, A and T. Now let's go back to Sarah's exam question and think about what she could write. The question is broken into 2 parts. The first part is worth 2 marks. It says the sequence of a strand of DNA is shown below. Use your knowledge of complementary base pairing to predict the sequence of the complementary strand. Have a go at this. See if you can write which strand would be the complementary series of bases. If that was one strand, what would the opposite strand be? And here's a second part of the question, which is worth 4 marks. Describe the structure of DNA. Try to use all of the keywords that we've used in this video. See if you can write an answer. The answers are coming in a few seconds, so pause the video now if you need more time. Just to mention, I'm developing some resources to go alongside these videos for those who'd like a little bit more support with their revision. If you're interested, check out the link to the online shop below. The first part of the question asks for the complementary sequence. Remember, A always pairs with T and C with G. So the answer is T, A, C, C, G, G, A, T. Award yourself 2 marks if you got it all correct. If you made one mistake, give yourself 1 mark. Exam mark schemes usually give you points for every key phrase you use. So if you mention that DNA is a double-stranded molecule, give yourself 1 mark. Alternatively, you could get this mark for saying it's a double helix. The second mark is for saying that DNA is a polymer and it's made of nucleotides. As long as you mention that it's made of nucleotides, you can have that mark. The third point comes for saying that DNA has a sugar-phosphate backbone. You get a mark if you said that DNA contains 4 bases and you mentioned that those bases are C, G, A, and T. And finally, you could also get a point for mentioning complementary base pairing, or that C always pairs with G and A always pairs with T. There are 5 marks available, but you only need 4 of them. How did you do? Comment below to tell me what you scored out of 6. Well done for reaching the end of the video. Don't worry if you can't remember it all the first time, just watch it again until you know all of the key ideas. And if you feel you've got the hang of this, then why not check out this video next? I hope to see you again soon.